Good morning, Jerry. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, Shan, RJ, Bobby. Good morning.
Jerry, thanks for joining us as always. We had seen that you spoke to the team emotionally after the game on Sunday. What can you share with us about that talk and what you wanted to tell them?
Well, basically, without getting into anything about what I said, I wanted at least them to hear a couple of experiences I've had dealing with a setback, dealing with hard times, and some basic examples of how people took those hard times and made it into something very important in their lives going forward. And that was basically it.
Jerry, injury news came out yesterday. How are you guys feeling about the timeline for Dak Prescott?
Well, it's 50, but it's extended period of time here. So I wouldn't dare make a prediction when it could be. It's likely we'll IR him, and so we'll see kind of how his rehab goes.
Jerry, you guys are going with Cooper Rush. Was there significant thought to maybe going with Trey Lance and just seeing what you had there with the way that the record is right now?
Well, let's just don't dismiss the possibility of doing anything. And the going with has a past tense aspect to it that I wouldn't recognize. It's not impossible to incorporate some of the skills that we might get from both quarterbacks.
In order to make Trey, a guy who actually starts a game, would it take an injury to Cooper, or is there talk about it either way?
I wouldn't get into that, but obviously he's got to be front and center a lot because you're one play away from not having Cooper. So just that alone, much less there are things that we can do with him that I think can add punch to the offense.
Jerry Jones here on The Fan. Jerry, Rush had a phenomenal run a few seasons ago with that 4-1 record. Can you just kind of reset your thoughts on him, and also how has Trey come along since the beginning of the year in y'all's program?
Rush is as quick as you'll ever see in his decision-making, and they're sound. He also, because of the nature of his arm, he has a good anticipation in his throws. And so given the kind of time we would expect, he's got a good quick release. He sees the secondary as good as anybody we've ever had. He's got a lot of pluses.
Jerry Jones joined us here on 105 through the Fan. You said after the game you have faith in the players, you have faith in the coaches. What at 3-5 with the injuries gives you faith that this can be turned around?
Well, I think that you don't see it in the 3-5. And, of course, Bill always said, Parcells, you are what you are. But what you do see is a group that, because of its, again, a couple of rookies there in that offensive line, we can see that getting better and not making those mistakes, period, pre-snaps or otherwise, penalties. But I see that as a potential upside going into the future. They'll play better. They do some things that are real impressive. I'm talking about our rookies there in the offensive line. And that, to me, when I look ahead, I see that improving. I think we can do some things. We're going to bring a receiver in more than likely today that we've really have thought a lot of and wanted to draft him, and so we're going to get a chance to get him. So I can see improvement, much less the players that we haven't had. Now, all the teams are dealing with injury, as we well know, but we've got some players that are right here, ready to come in, probably as early as this week, but certainly over the next 2 weeks that could really give this thing a different look. Plus, on defense, what Zim's trying to do, you've got another week under your belt. We'll get better at that. And so I look at all of that as a positive. There's no question that Dak's injury is a setback. And but we've seen Cooper do it. We know what we need to do relative to the strategies on the offense. We just need to come together and game by game use all of our players to the extent it helps us.
Jerry, were you comfortable with CeeDee Lamb continuing to play late in the fourth quarter when he was clearly limited by that injury? And do you expect to have him available this weekend?
Very much. That thing is very painful. When you strain a shoulder like that, that's very painful. We knew he was in pain, knew it from the time it happened. And it's commendable to see any of these players get out there and play with that kind of pain. But he was, we wanted him out there if he could be out there, and we didn't think we were risking additional injury to him.
Jerry, how are you feeling about Lamb and Parsons for Philadelphia?
Well, Lamb, of course, we think there's a good chance that he'll be playing at Philadelphia, and Parsons as well.
What about Zeke for this week?
And I think there's a good chance he can go this week.
Jerry, what can you tell us about the Zeke situation and what happened afterwards in dealing with it?
Well, there's no. It's really pretty plain if you look at it. The rules that were addressed are really clear, and the attendant punishment is clear, and he'd be the first to tell you. And so that was it. And you know, that running back room, it's quite a setback for any of those running backs not to get out there because they need their snaps and want their snaps. And you can get out there and get on a roll, as Rico did. Mm-hmm. And that is a step toward having a better season, both individually and for the team. So my point is, I've never seen a discipline matter any better aired for the world to see than Zeke's infraction. And but it was just for the game, and I look forward to seeing him back out there.
Jerry, Zeke has seemed a bit frustrated with his role even before this most recent issue this weekend. Was there any sort of disconnect between you guys and Zeke when he signed as to what his role would be here?
Not at all. Not at all. Those guys are a good room of running backs. Rico sure had that kind of day that each of them want to have, and he had it. That's what you look for, who's going to separate themselves a little bit. Rico did, but those guys are good football players in there.
Jerry Jones, brought to you by Ford here on 105.3 The Fan. Jerry, you had mentioned the penalties, all the pre-snap stuff, and you commented after the game. That old football saying, you're either coaching it or allowing it to happen. Do you believe in that, and does that apply to Coach McCarthy with these penalties?
Yeah, I think in response to that is you can imagine the kind of emphasis that anybody playing in a substantive football game, how much keeping the penalties down, certainly pre-snap type penalties, and but that emphasis is on so much on the players, the team. Those players are constantly communicating with each other about boys. Let's listen to the count, stay on sides. That's constant. And an awareness of the penalty, constant over on the sidelines. And so you want it to be that way. And, yeah, that's a combination of players and coaching.
Jerry, do all of these injuries change your evaluation of coach throughout this season? Does it make it an unfair evaluation?
Well, I don't know. I'm not so sure fair is a word here. This is just like looking at maybe our each financial situation. Fair is a wrong word to put in there. I think that what it does is what it is. You if you have an excessive amount of penalties, if you do something continually, boy, you better look back over your shoulder because help will be on its way. This is pro football. And so these guys have a lot of incentive, to say the very least, to basically have their mind on the discipline of penalties. And we've seen it happen to us several times this year. We saw too many men on the field. Well, that's a combination of player and coaches that have too many people on the field. And so that's just where it is. You can step back from that, and seriously, I don't want to sound condescending, but you can put me in the equation. Those are the guys out there, the coaches and the players that I've had everything to do with getting out there. So all of it is something that is just a point. You can't win with too many penalties. You can't win with too many turnovers making them. You can win if you win the turnover battle, and you can win if you're continually and consistently without penalties.
Jerry, you mentioned the discipline, the concentration that comes with these penalties. These aren't penalties of aggression. They're a lot of times concentration and discipline, like you said. Do you think when you get those that is a sign that maybe the players and Mike has lost the player's ear?
Well, no, not at all. I think you can get penalties sometimes as you get late in the game. You get tired. I think that can happen. But these guys are, quote, pro football players, and they're given a lot of incentive to get out there and think through that. And candidly, that's a part of a maturation process if these are young players, and that's just how to fight through that and keep mentally sharp. Your physical fatigue I'm talking about.
Jerry, you guys had a lot of success post-bye week last year with a really aggressive passing game that Dak felt really comfortable in. Why are the passing game concepts this year so much more conservative than last season?
Well, I don't have an answer for you at all. And so actually, Dak has been known for the numbers of down the field completion, his high percentage of down the field completions. And so that's one of his pluses. I really can't address why, other than teams dictate a lot about how you can go really downfield with the ball and what they're doing. If you've got a team that's really focusing on the pressure that time of the ball game, you got to get that ball out quick. It's harder to get it downfield. So all of those things are part of the answer. No succinct one thing.
Jerry, you guys seem to have success going up tempo early in the Atlanta game and then kind of went away from that. Would you have preferred to see the tempo continue deeper into the game?
I'm not going to get involved in some basically second guessing. We all see in every game a better way to do it when it doesn't work. And we've got a better way to do it when it doesn't work. When it works, we're proud of the way it was executed. But you got a lot of takebacks in any ball game by any team. We certainly had our takebacks there. I could basically say 3 plays were the difference out there the other day. That's not really right. There's a lot more to it than that, and those penalties had a lot to do with it. And so you can just point to these things as ways, things, coaching points, things for the players to improve on, and in that manner, having improvement.
Do you feel the same way about the fake punt? What was your take on that?
Well, I just, first of all, it looked like when you saw how it was defensed, it looked like that's a play that you'd like to have back. And I've seen it analyzed up and down for the last 2 or 3 days. All of the issues that were a part of that call or part of that play have been really aired out. Everybody saw it that was watching the ball game. And so I know what they were trying to do, and we all know what they didn't do. And any momentum that that play actually a turnover, if you complete it, it's the equivalent of a turnover because you're having to give them the ball back at that time. But they got the momentum because of the location on the field. And so the attempt to get momentum, attempt to really get it going, was backfired on us, as everybody knows.
Jerry Jones right here with Shan RJ and Bobby, 105.3 The Fan. NFL trade deadline day. We know how optimistic you are. You talked about the receiver possibly coming in. At 3-5, Jerry, with the injuries, can you make the case that it makes more sense right now to sell than buy?
We're not selling, and so we will make that case. We're buying and not selling.
Jerry, with that opportunity you've spoken about a couple times now, the opportunity to make moves today, what does this team really need?
Well, we're going to have it from within to get where we all want to go. And we're going to have the ability to do it from within. We've really tightened that window with our record right now as far as our goals of getting in the playoffs and having a team that can really compete at the highest levels. We've added to that by losing our quarterback. So we're going to have to do something that's a storybook type of scenario. I've been a part of a couple of those, and it can happen.
And, Jerry, when you mention that there's a receiver you're likely bringing in today, would that be a signing or a trade?
It'd be a trade.
There it is. Jerry Jones right here with a big day upon us on 105.3 The Fan. Jerry, there's a lot of fans. I want to just know if you understand the sentiment where they're like, all right, we don't have that same optimism. We would prefer to see Trey and lose and get the higher draft pick. Do you understand that type of fan tank thinking? Are you okay with that?
No, let me say this. I have those same kind of thoughts, same kind of feeling. Really do. And you have to really weigh where you are really good. And I think that what you're seeing today is a consideration of everything you just outlined, plus a lot more.
Jerry, thank you so much for the honesty. We appreciate the time and handling all the questions. Have fun today.
You bet, guys. Quite a day coming up here, Election Day.
Yes, it is.